Hey guys, welcome to Digit.in, and we are going to have a special conversation today about being safe on the internet. Now, if I start throwing terms at you like phishing or maybe something else that might scare you away, don't, because we're going to talk to someone from Google. Now, this is Sunita, who is the director for trust and safety. And let's put it simply, she's going to tell you a few tips and tricks that you sitting at home can do to save yourself from, let's say, a lot of bad things that might happen once you enter the world of the internet. So, Sunita, thank you so much for joining us today. And first of all, I'd like you to tell our viewers about some basic, simple tips and tricks that they can do when they start out in the world of internet to be a little safe.
Thank you, Sameer, and thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here on behalf of Google. Uh, Keeping it very simple, especially because it's for the users, the 5 tips I'd like to give is one, have a good account protection. So you must have heard about two-factor authentication and
Yes.
keeping passwords more complex. I think these two go a long way to keep your account safe. The second thing is computer and operating system updates. A lot of times people don't keep their operating system updated both on the phone as well as on the desktop, and there are a lot of security vulnerabilities that these organizations send to us, and keeping it updated keeps you safe. So that's the second tip.
So essentially, that's when you get a little pop-up on your phone that says update available
Absolutely,
and
with a
install
little
now.
arrow and say
Yes.
install it now. Please take that seriously because that goes a long way to keep you safe. The third thing that I would advise is don't click anything that is too good to be true. For example, you get those lovely emails from Nigeria that claim that you have won millions. If it was so easy
Yes.
to win millions,
Yeah.
it all of us would be rich. I think it's very, very important to understand that there is a concept called phishing where you would be giving a lot of your information that would make you susceptible to damages later on.
Okay, so just to explain to our viewers, fishing isn't when you go on a little boat and catch fish. That's not the F. This
It's
fishing starts
P.
with P,
P.
and you can actually Google the term. And what it is essentially you might have a website like Facebook, for example, where it might have a little S, and the logo might look similar to the original one. It'll ask you for your login credentials, and you will suddenly give your login credentials to some third party, which is a hacker. So you need to verify the URL is the best way to
Absolutely.
catch whether it's phishing. So could you elaborate a little bit on
On
someone
the
who's just
URL.
logging in? What should they keep in mind when looking at the URL?
So when you look at the URL, especially when you're giving something called a PII, PII is a personally identifiable information. This includes things like your names, your date of birth, your address, your banking and financial information. So when you're giving any of these information, make sure that the website is secure. One, it's a trusted website. There are several ways for you to look at the trust score of a website by doing search. Second is you have to look for the HTTPS, which actually is a claim of security. If you're using a Chrome browser, you will see a little padlock on the right that says that this is a safe browser. There is also something, especially with financial organizations, that's called the certificate of authentication, and you get a small green URL that actually means that this organization has been certified to be safe.
So the an easy way to identify that is when you go to your banking website.
Yeah.
So your ICICI or Standard Chartered or any banking website,
Yes.
when you put in your details, the URL turns a little green, or
Green.
it has a green
It's-
marker
yeah.
on the side if it's a different browser.
It's called the extended validation certificate. So you will see your URL turns green.
And are these certifications part of other shopping websites like Flipkarts and Amazons as well, or
Yes, it is true, and it's especially when you're giving any financial information. When you get into the checkout part of a transactional website, that's where you will see that it's either HTTPS, which is a more popular way, which is what you see a padlock with Chrome, or it is a certification. Not everybody gets a certification, but HTTPS is a good way to identify secure
Okay,
websites.
so those were two more
Yeah.
tips, right?
Yeah. So two more tips. I think one is just being able to identify where you are giving away your where there is an identity theft happening. So we actually spoke a little bit of that before, which is about secure websites, but really about emails or people calling for information, or you giving information in a very basic website on uh, where you're located. And this could be social network, for example, with kids. So somebody is asking you where you're located, you give your phone number and you give your address, location, everything. You're giving a lot of information, especially for young kids, on where you're located, which is not safe on the internet. And we've seen a lot of cyberbullying, kidnapping, etc. happen because you've given a lot more information on a social network site than necessary.
Yes. So even when you have a bank, they usually send you a message once in a while that do not give your OTP, do not give your credit card
Absolutely.
details. As a personal example, I did get a call once saying, "Sir, we need to transfer money to your account. Please share your bank account details."
Yes.
And I was like, "But what is this for?" And they refused to answer. And then all of a sudden, when they realized that I was educated enough to ask the right questions, they
They'll
hung
step
up.
back.
So you actually should be very, very, very careful. In fact, going a step further, if you receive an email from your bank asking for details, I'd suggest call up the call center and say, "Did you ask for these details?" So always have a step to double check such information.
And then it's very important for you to understand that at the end of it, you're interacting with a computer. It's not a human being.
Yes.
So it may be Sameer on the other end of the chat that I'm chatting with. What's the guarantee it's Sameer? So a lot of
Absolutely.
times you don't know, and especially for kids and women, this is a very, very important fact that you have to be safe in terms of what information you give out.
Correct.
Yeah. And the last tip, which is the most important tip, is awareness and education. And I say, especially for vulnerable communities like women and children, I say have a conversation with them in terms of what it takes to be safe. There's something called a digital footprint. What are you leaving behind on the internet? You may leave a comment on the internet today which feels absolutely safe for you to have an opinion. And tomorrow when you've applied for an internship, your employer is checking you on the internet and seeing what is the digital footprint. No, that does not agree to our culture. We are not going to hire that person.
Okay.
So it's very important that don't leave photographs, images, point of view, which is actually very radical, that comes to impact you later on. And stay safe on the internet. There is also something called reporting. Every product, be it a competitor product like Facebook or Google or Twitter, gives a mode of you to complain to the organization when you find that there is a violation. Report a violation, go back to a confidant to report, especially for young kids, and make sure that these issues surface and are addressed.
Okay. So another thing, keeping in mind with your personal information coming up, like you said, if you search for X or Y product on an Amazon or a Flipkart or any website where you're looking to buy something and you log on to, let's say, Facebook, you see only advertisements of those products. So this, in a way, is not only invasion of privacy, but does it have a security angle to it as well?
No, I mean, see, a lot of us do interest-based advertising, which is that you have an interest in a product and you obviously are able to find that product, and that's the whole point of having advertising on internet. So there's a good part of that. Wherever you feel that it does not agree with you, go back and change the cookies and delete the cookies so that you don't get interest-based advertising, provided that you feel that it is getting very personal. So there are enough processes to do it, and if there is a violating advertising for something that you don't like, go and report that violation. All ads, Google ads especially, have a little eye through which you can actually mute the ad or complain if you find it is violating, and there is a team that looks and validates this against a policy to make sure that you are, one, protecting the user and also respecting the need of the user.
Okay. Now, of course, there's a whole conversation of the next billion coming onto the internet, and they're coming onto the internet through the mobile phone. So can we shift focus now a little bit to the mobile phone, which is, of course, Android is the largest operating system out there. So can you talk a little bit about how to be secure when you've just got a phone, you've logged in, you've started using it? So a starter's guide for security on the phone.
Yeah. And that's a good point, Sameer, because if you look at a 1.5 billion population, of which 0.5 is online, almost I would say 60% of them are online using a smartphone, at least as a single device or an alternate device in addition to a desktop. Some of the things that people don't understand, it's this little pocket that gives you access to a big wide world of internet, but there are little things that you need to take care there. One is your PIN and password. As soon as you enter your phone device, there's a lot of information you store on the phone. So make sure that your PIN and password is absolutely foolproof. If you wouldn't believe this, but 34% of Indians that we surveyed said they have the same password across social network sites, banking accounts, and email.
Yes.
So it's surprising that people don't understand how to stay safe at the first line of defense, which is your PIN and password.
Yeah. Anything to do with your birthday, your parents' birthday, your dog's birthday, your kid's birthday, don't do that. Don't do that at all.
And the most popular password, do you know what it is?
Password?
Yeah. It is 1 2 3 4 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's as simple as that to hack, so we should get safe there. The second part, when you move from the UI to the operating system, we spoke about it. Make sure that all your operating systems are updated, because the organization, whether it's an Android or an iPhone with iOS, they make sure that the operating systems update, especially if there is a security issue, is sent to the user. So that's the second thing. The third thing is absolutely being conscious of apps that you download. While most organizations do a lot of review of the kind of apps that they would release on their store, it is still important for a user to understand that when you are downloading an app, what is the control that you are giving to the user, to the app. So, for example, you are downloading a fashion app, but it asks you a series of questions. But I want to get that app downloaded, so you don't tick. It's already
And this
downloaded.
includes questions like, can it access your microphone, your call logs, your
Call,
SMSs?
contacts, everything. And are those needed for that app functionality? They're not needed. But there are different ways for people to really get your information and then misuse it tomorrow.
So there are a lot of, for example, Android itself with Marshmallow gives you a pop-up of these permissions when you are installing an app. BlackBerry has DTech, which is their pre-installed software, which essentially does the same thing that Marshmallow does. Similarly, you have a lot of third-party apps, some developed by Indians as well, about same showing you the permissions and warning you when a certain app is getting permissions for a service it does not need. So A, does it make sense to have such apps on your phone, or is it good enough that you have Marshmallow and above phone? And also, does it make sense to install any kind of antiviruses on your phone?
Yeah, so antiviruses definitely. I don't know about some of these apps and I wouldn't endorse them, but I think for the operating system of the organization, they are pretty much well built to take care of user safety. So that should be a good foolproof mechanism to stay safe. And the one last thing also is, especially for Android, you have something called the device manager. Definitely install the device manager, because what happens is, if by any chance your phone gets stolen, there is a way for you using a device manager, one, to trace it, and second, to erase all the content. God forbid that, God forsake, you don't get the phone back.
Okay.
So these are some of the very few tips that any organization provides you, and you should absolutely use them.
So yes, actually, again, in experience, I did leave my iPod in my car and somebody broke the window and stole it. So thankfully, it was just an iPod, but it was an iPod Touch which had my Gmail synced in and a lot of other data. So with the iPhone, you have a Find My iPhone. You can just Google Find My iPhone and it gives you step by steps on how to do it. Similarly, you could do it for Android. Android has it inbuilt and third-party apps that help you do this. So it's very important to have a Find My iPhone. Also, a security pin, if somebody puts it in more than 5 times, it automatically erases the phone, is another thing that I think you can have set up on your phone. So that's one thing. Now, another thing is, of course, coming back to apps, is the most popular example is Pokemon Go. When it launched, it didn't launch in India, and a lot of people downloaded these apps which said Pokemon Go, but it was essentially a phishing app to get users' data. So when people search for certain apps or certain games, it's of course a vast library. But are there any tips that you can be safe when you are looking at a third-party app to download?
Yeah, so when you download a third-party app, one, do a lot of research, because when you do, you can look at reviews. Whether it's a Play Store or an Apple Store, you will actually see that there are a lot of user reviews, feedback that is given on the app. So
And
definitely
just
go
a
through.
common misconception which a lot of people have is that these reviews are put out by the publisher
No.
themselves to get more traction.
They're curated by most organizations, so usually they're validated. So when a user gives a review, both positive and negative, there is a way to take action. In fact, I know for sure, because it's my team that takes action on any negative reviews that is made on an app, and we go back and validate whether actually an app is behaving abnormally as claimed by a user.
So so just to highlight this point, if as a user you think an app is doing something malicious or is doing something that it is not supposed to do, and you
Please
put out
report.
a negative review on the Play Store, it is being noticed by
It
a
is
team
being
behind
noticed,
at Google.
yes. And please report them. It's very important as social citizens that we report a violation, whether it's a child harassment or a child bullying, cyberbullying, if it's hate harassment for women. Please report this violation, because all organizations report and respond to violations. And
Okay, so another thing is the cybercrime division of the police in India has grown a lot over the past few years. As even if you look at it in the past 5 years, they've received a lot of support in terms of catching. Now we have seen a lot of cases where a lot of girls were receiving threats on Facebook through their boyfriends, through whatever, or through third-party accounts which were just created through random accesses. All these things are being taken care of by the police in a more strict manner these days.
Absolutely.
So has Google teamed up with them, or are you guys providing some kind of support to cybercrime in India to help resolve these matters as well?
So we do within the regulatory purview, whatever request comes from the cybercrime department, they come to the legal team and then we validate the request and take action. And this is all within the regulatory requirements of the organization, of the country that we operate in.
Alright. So another point of conversation is, of course, child safety. And like we were talking earlier, there are a lot of people that fake their age just to get access online. And this is more of a concern to parents rather than the 13, 14-year-old who's getting into this. So any tips for parents on child safety and how they can monitor their children's activities online?
So a good point, Sameer, because this is something which is very close to my heart, especially because we do a lot of advocacy. We've run a program called Web Rangers where we teach children to be more great social citizens, like really understand what they should be doing. For parents, my advice is really manage, control devices that your children are accessing the internet through. Make sure you review the browser history where kids are going. It's very important till they become adults that they know that you are behind them, guiding them through this. It is a difficult conversation between parents and children, but very much needed. The third thing is also ensure the content they're accessing, don't fake their ages, because most of the time it is 13 years plus that you're allowed to have either a social networking or an email account. And there's a good reason, because there's a lot of research organizations have done to assume why 13 is the right age. So don't fake their ages and get them, because tomorrow when they have a bad experience, they're completely off internet, which is not great, because this is a great place for them to learn and grab information which you are not letting them get to the good benefits.
So is there any way in which if a child needs to create an email ID at the age of 13, 14, 15, that it is linked to their parents' account so they know what's happening? Or does Google or Gmail provide any such facility where a parent can handhold, just like you would in a bank account, have a child account, right, which the parent is linked with? Handhold them till they reach of age? Is anything?
No, so we say post 13 years you can have an independent
Gmail
email
account.
Gmail account, and we say the kids become responsible by then to manage their own Gmail account. But it's also important for parents till they believe that the child is adult, which is 18, to keep track of their digital activity. The other thing is also educating them on the social aspects, what information to share, what kind of opinion to share in a social network site, who are you chatting with, how much of information are you giving over a chat window to the individual. That's important. Put parental controls in place so that at least they don't access sites that you feel are not right. And last but not the least, you have to train them to report, which means be a confidant to your kids, have them come to you the first time they get into trouble, or always when they get into trouble on the internet, and find a way to report this, because there are enough counseling facilities available to kids. There are enough organizations that take child safety very at high priority, and they would do anything to make sure that the controls are taken care and the perpetrators are actually brought to.
Also, there is a device level thing that you can do. If you have a desktop at home that your children access through the Chrome browser, you have the ability to manually enter specific URLs that can be blocked off. So let's say even pornographic websites that are easily visited, you could just curate a list and put it in blocked websites. So the minute somebody opens this in Chrome itself, it is blocked.
Yes.
There are also a lot of features where, of course, this is now going above and beyond, where at a router level you can get notifications on your phone as well. If certain websites are accessed. So even if, of course, this will be spying a little too much, but if your children open Facebook, you will get a notification. But those are, of course, very extreme security measures. But yes, you can manually block certain URLs as well through Chrome, just to be a little more safe. So coming back to Chrome, you said you had a few more things to say about the browser, right?
Yeah, so we said the safe browsing aspect of it. So the kids need to be educated, because malware and phishing are big things. So they also have to be educated. They love downloading stuff. What
Yes.
can they download versus not, and especially if there's an alert coming in, because they don't understand the damages of really downloading something which could be a malware and completely take control of your.
The most common thing is download song for free,
Yes,
download movie for
absolutely.
free,
Or even
download
a
games for
software.
free. Yes.
They want to try out new software, so I think those are things that they have to be very careful about. And there, especially if you're using Gmail or any of the Google account, there is something called accounts.google.com where you can go back and look at the history of your account, where were the logins from, which city, which IP, and that is very important because you can actually track if there was any nosy behavior on your accounts, and if your account was accessed from a city that you've never been, and you will be surprised. You could be sitting in India and have had access from Turkey or from Russia, and those are things you have to
Actually, there are
report.
times when Google does give you a notification. So there was once it happened to me. Like so many examples I have also. I was driving back home and I got a message from Google on my Gmail saying that your account was accessed from Russia. What did you access? It was this you, and this happens. You will note the most common way to notice this is when you buy a new phone and you log in on your Gmail account for the first time. You'll get a email saying you logged in from your X account on so and so device. So these are
And
just
you have to
examples,
endorse.
and you have to endorse it that yes, this was me, or if it says ignore if it wasn't you, or please click here if this was you, kind of notifications. So yes, those security measures are in process, but a lot of people tend to ignore these emails when they come. So don't ignore these emails when they
No.
come.
And report a violation. I can't keep repeating this, but for example, on YouTube or on Gmail, if you ever see a violation, report it to us. We also have a great offering called YouTube Kids, which is very kid friendly. I use it for both my kids. Amazing content, curated content, safe for the kids. Please use products like that.
And is there, so we've spoken a lot about all these security measures. Is there any specific URL, a link where Google has to-dos or a how-tos or a take care of before that we can show our audience so that they can go there and just read about some basic safety tips and tricks?
Yes. So you can actually go to the Google .com or google.in and look for Google Safety Center, and the Safety Center will give all the tips on how to stay safe on the internet for parents as well as for children.
Is there any other point that you think we've missed to talk about?
I would like to talk about safe browsing because I think
Okay.
Google has a safe browsing option that you can, if you're using say a Mozilla or any other any other browser, make sure that you install the safe browsing feature. If it's a Chrome, then safe browsing you will see alerts saying that this website is not safe for you to go. And we do a lot of validation. We look at 1 billion alerts every day of malware, phishing, when somebody is using a browser, and make sure that the user is alerted when they're getting into a website that we feel it's not safe. So definitely make use of that facility. If a browser is alerting you, listen to that because there is a huge technical team behind that is actually alerting you based on strong signals.
And also, of course, there is incognito mode, which has one of the best. So a lot of people,
Absolutely.
when they open incognito mode, don't actually read the definition. And the last line of the definition says, "Look behind your shoulders," because we can't control somebody spying on you from
Yes.
behind. So on that fun note of Google, yeah, Google has a lot of these funny anecdotes for
It
those
does.
that want to catch it. I would like to say thank you so much for joining us on this. It was a real pleasure, and we hopefully you guys also learned a lot about being safe when browsing and when being on your phone. And as always, if you have any questions, you can always let us know in the comment section below. You can always write to us, and we will do our best to get back to you. You can follow us on our usual platforms. We're on Facebook, we're on Snapchat. We have, of course, you're watching this either on YouTube or digit.in. We will catch you in another video. It's goodbye for now.
Thank you, Samir.
Thank you.